All right. We're going to do in different sections throughout the different Mondays. Today will just be neutral on the feet, fundamental basics of that. Next week will probably be defense, neutral on the feet, and then we'll do one top, one bottom, and cover all positions. The one thing that stuck with me since I was like 10, 11 years old going over with him, the 4 keys to wrestling are the position, who you are, where you are. Your head's up, your back straight, your hips are under you, and your pressure. What does that mean? So I'm in my stance, my head's up, my back's straight, my hips are under me, and I'm pressuring forward always. I'm not doing any one of those 4 things at any time in wrestling. There's a chance that you're hurting yourself and putting yourself in danger whether you know it or not. So when you're coaching these kids, when you're teaching them, especially week 1, day 1, year 1, that message, head up, back straight, pressure it over and over and over again. Because once they get it, and they don't have to think about it, and they're just constantly always in this good position, it makes everything else work so much easier. So much easier. So again, I told you guys before, I'm going to be showing position more than technique. And then when you show the technique, it will work because they're in the position. So head up, back straight, hips in, pressure in. Put together. So if I'm going to practice and I want to send these guys after warm-ups, I'll say, start shadow wrestle after they're done with warm-up and stretch, and then go. We'll just move. So you just got your guys moving around. And you got them in a good stance. And now, as I'm walking around the room, I'll be like, hey, make sure we're checking our levels, make sure our heads are up, make sure our back's straight, make sure we're pressuring forward. I'm just reinforcing them same 4 principles always, even if it's subtle, even if they don't realize what I'm saying to them. You're constantly doing it. Right? So, ideas for how to drill that into a head. Because wrestling is, as a coach, effective coaching is getting them to do what the hell I want them to do. I can tell them, but if they don't do it, I'm screwing up. So I have to find a way to get through to them. So I've spent the past 15 years coaching, figuring out the best ways to either trick the kid's brain into doing the right thing, or actually getting through to some of these hard-headed kids that refuse to listen sometimes. So that's part 1 on that. Part 2, square stance doesn't work. That's pretty much 1980s wrestling. It's evolved. Things changed just like power ride and football. The old YT formation, you don't see that in the NFL anymore. Things change. So in wrestling, this is defense. I can't score. If me and Noah are in a stance and we're wrestling and my feet are square, for me to score, I'm already more than a foot away from him. I already have to take this step for that penetration step on your left. So now I'm taking this extra step to cover this distance, and now my head's not up, my back isn't straight, my hips aren't under me, and all the principles went out the window because I'm in a square stance. Kids can't be in a square stance. I'm up 3-1, there's 10 seconds left, fuck yeah. That's fine, you're stalling. But if you're wrestling, you got to score, he's got to have a favorite foot. He could be a lefty, like him. He could be a righty, it doesn't matter. But it has to be his favorite foot. And the reason is, for you guys are going to adapt depending on what age group you're teaching. So if you're teaching tots, you're a bit more lenient because they're 6 and 5. If you're teaching bands, you could be a bit more stringent, and as you get older, you can be more critical. That's up to the coach and the kid, and you'll make your own educated guess on how to deal with each kid. But for the most part, at the high school, we don't use the word shoot. There is no shoot. Shoot means you're friggin' far. If I have to shoot, it means I'm out here, so I have to shoot. That's not a good shot against a good kid because he's going to have too much time to defend. So what we teach is it's called drop in. All I'm going to do is make sure that I'm close enough. When I take that shot, all I have to do is drop in. So if we're in a good stance, and now look how close my foot is, as opposed to all the way out here. Now when I want to shoot, I don't have to take this extra step. I'm literally just dropping in. My head's up, my back's straight, my hips are under me, and I'm going to pressure in for my finish. But it's the positioning of understanding. We all know a penetration shot, we all know how to finish a double and single, and there's all the technique. But it's understanding that your kid didn't get that penetration shot because he started it from 6 inches too far. That 6 inches may seem stupid and small, but it's everything. Everything. And like he was saying, when you have kids do inside ties, this is what happens. Do double inside on. They go like this because they're scared. and they're not comfortable wrestling here because they feel like they're in danger. So they stretch the run, like this. Now they're like, oh, I feel a bit more comfortable. But now, like Dad's in the corner, you gotta shoot! You gotta shoot! Say, okay! That's it. That's the end of it. So, at the end of the day, on your neutral, the whole point, from top to, I'd say, at least a midget, is just get them confident with controlling risk. Because that's going to keep them close. So, when we tie up, in high school it gets more convoluted, but when we tie up tots, midgets down, we obviously don't want them reaching. Reaching's bad. If they reach, they shoot. That's no good. I have to start with a risk. It's the best way to get the kid to stay in position. It's the best way to keep this other guy from scoring, because nobody can score with one arm. I can shake this leg all I want, he can take it, but with one arm he can't finish. So if the 8-year-old kid, that's in the room is having trouble scoring because he can't get close enough, as a coach I have to figure out, how do I get him to wrestle closer? How do I build his confidence so that he's willing to wrestle closer? And the way that I found is controlling the title. Not just putting my hand on him because I'm supposed to. Controlling the title. So, like I said, tots to like midgets or so, I would focus just on the wrist. And once I start with the wrist, now I can climb up the wrist and get into a tie. Because now it's not so scary. Now I'm not reaching and risking that. Now I'm not asking him to do a technique. Go put in that other hook and hit this move and then do that. It's too much. It's too much. I'm just teaching them to control. And as we control, I'm going to walk my feet in while I stay in my stance. So you're just going to move away from me now as we're going here, and I'm just going to go like this. And if I can get 8, 9, 10-year-old kids to do this in the box and work in until they get what they want, now that like this, now we'll start taking some shots. Now we'll start taking them. And the best thing I can say when they're 8, 9, 10, when it starts working, they're going to believe it. When it works, they use it. You tell them something, go do this, and then they come back and they got pinned with it, or they messed up, or that move, stop doing that. So, the best thing I can tell you for that age group is going to be controlling those ties at a basic level. We're going to college high, it's going to happen. It's just what happens when you're 9. It's just like a natural thing to just do this. Hold on each other, whatever. My coach was saying, we want to break them out of that. So, when you get to midgets and up, you can start expanding how in detail you're going with these ties. In the beginning, like I said, you're going to have to cater it towards the age group. I'm not the best with 6, 7, 8, 9 and knowing what works the best, because I haven't worked with them in a while.
And one more thing real quick before you move up on that. So as Coach was working with those wrists, right, because this is kind of how I taught my sons to do that. So when Coach is controlling that wrist, for the, like I said, this is for the younger kids, my kids are top. A main focus that I harp on too is the head positioning. So you guys didn't pay attention to it, but Coach stayed in great head position, and as he worked into his ties, he now put that head into his temple, into his neck, so that way he can control his neck and head. So for those tots, those little guys, like you said, teaching those guys to grab the wrist control, but also with that, teaching them head position and where they put their head. So now, I got this kid's wrist, and I'm controlling his head, there's no way he's going to stop me from my shot.
The drill for that I've done from middle school even into college, head positioning values. Head positioning drill. You got both guys put their hands behind their back. Good shape. So Mir's just going to do a good job of staying in a good stance, keeping his neck strong. The other guy's job is to force head position. Can't use my hand, I'm just using my forehead. Head in the temple is good. Head in the neck is better. So if I have my head in Amir's temple here, it's good because I have my angle. I do have this slight advantage here, but it's not foolproof in terms of he's just got to roll his head under, and then I lose it. My head position I'm looking for is my head is going in the neck here, so now he can't roll into me because there's no room for it to happen. And if I'm doing that last principle of pressuring in, there is nowhere for him to do so. So the drill goes, when he gets that position on me, I roll underneath and up and into him. Now I have that position, now he stays in his stance, now he rolls into me, and he's got that position, now he keeps it, now I got to stay in my stance and work it back. And we do this every practice. for 30, 40 seconds in the beginning of your warm-ups and drills, and it'll train them to get their head used to being in there, digging in. It's a weapon. So those things, doing on a daily basis when you're in practice, will start to train them to be now, they don't even realize it, but now they're controlling wrists and their head's getting in there and they're in a good stance. And all the things start to come together.
Hey, just to touch on that, like Coach just said, doing things on a daily basis, that's one thing we do at the high school is we have a set of drills that we do every day. And it doesn't take long, it's not like it's a 30-minute set, but it's a quick, after we stretch, 5-minute shadow wrestling, head control, drill matches, like just things that these kids know that, all right, this is our routine every day to get things going, get things moving. So for you guys, if you guys think about something like after we warm up and stretch, hey, let's go. So that way, for the kids, they know we do the same thing, and for them, to kind of focus them like, all right, we're in wrestling mode now, it's practice mode. Ready?
Yeah. So that would be my little kid approach. If you're the NJI or the middle school or anything above that, you really have to buy into the fact that if you don't control tie-ups, you'll never be the best kid. Because not everybody's Jordan Burroughs speed. Not everybody can shoot a blast double from 6 feet away and get in. So if you don't have some freak of nature athlete like that, most of us can't do that. So I'm not going to expect my kids to do that. And so when we get to the older group, controlling the tie is almost, it's my philosophy that it does it. If I know what to do out of every tie-up and you don't, I win. So if Amir's in a good stance, 9 times out of 10, like Coach Collins was saying earlier, the kid's going to come in off the whistle, you're going to shake hands, sweet, you'll step in, and the first thing he's going to do is what, Amir, thank you. Every single kid will throw the collar tie. They all do it, every one of them. And I thank them. Because every collar tie is a takedown. So when he slaps that collar tie on, all he does is take away this arm for the rest of the match until I decide he can have it back. So I'm going to pinch on this elbow at the elbow joint where it's weak. Not on the bicep, not on the tricep, not up in the tendons on the shoulder. On that weak part on the elbow, I'm going to pull it into me, and I'm going to shrug my shoulder here. Now if you notice, his hand comes off the back of my neck. If his hand's on my neck, I have pressure. He's pulling down, I can feel it. But as soon as I pull this in and shrug my shoulder, and that hand comes off my neck, he doesn't have anything anymore in terms of actual leverage. And now they get your arm back, man. There's no way. It takes no effort for me to hold this, and he literally can't pull his arm back. And that's just from the other kid making the mistake of starting with that collar. We know that they're going to do it, so we're going to plan for it. So off that collar tie, he throws. I take this elbow. My foot is within the 6-inch mark. Again, I'm not here, but down head position. This isn't elbow control. This is just hanging out, which is like the worst thing you can do on your feet, hanging out. Elbow control is head position, pulling the elbow in. This is elbow control, and then my head's up, my back's straight, my hips are under me, and the last one is pressuring forward is how I stay within threatening distance. Now here's some mistakes you have to get your kids not to do. If this is bad for him to do, we can't let our kid throw the collar tie, because then Amir's going to take the elbow, and now none of us can get our arms back, and nothing happens. This hand has to remain free and active. Always. Always. It can be used to control a wrist. It can be used to bang the head down. It can be used to threaten and fake. There's a whole list of things that's there for it. But if you get it tied up, and you can't get that arm back, it's useless. You don't have anything. So, teaching the kid, controlling the tie with an attack hand first. Always. Doesn't matter if it's the elbow. I just use that as an example. It could be an underhook with it. If I have this, and I tie up with a collar tie, and you got this, I don't have an underhook anymore. I don't have anything. I need this free. This is what I'm attacking with. This is what I'm setting up with. I need an attack hand free always. Always. Inside tie, same thing. I can come off the collar here, off the elbow, and come to an inside tie for a second if I want to use that. But this has to stay free. So that when I want to go for my attacks, I have it. So as a coach, when I'm around the room and I'm watching them drill, if these two are drilling and they're doing it good, go ahead. Just go back and forth where you guys are doing it. I'll be like, hey, keep that attack hand free. Keep that attack hand free. Don't get it tied up. Think about what you're doing. Don't get it tied up. So as a coach, you're going around the room, you're watching your kids move. You need to be on top of that stuff. You're good. You need to be telling them just subtly, quickly, quietly, hey, Pat Hanford, all these little things. That's why we have them written down here.